Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Potsmaker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Potsmaker's Bible, which contains the prophetic book of Zion, where I get my name and authority. It comes from the Ketuvim, or Old Testament, of the Christian Bible. I used the King James Version of the Bible to put together the prophecy of Israel, and I wrote it into a book called the Book of Zion. In order to publish the Book of Zion, I had to write the Potsmaker's Bible, because the Book of Zion is written entirely in Bible verse. None of it was out of my hand. So, today, I'm reading to you from the 8th chapter of the book of the Potsmaker's Bible, which contains the fifth chapter of the Book of Zion. It's called Who Hath Declared This? And it goes like this. The ancient God of Israel has told us many things. It is he that has declared this. He now turns his attention to the nations of Israel and Zion, and the city of Jerusalem in particular. We are told that Israel is replaced by Zion as a people. However, Israel is redeemed by this action. Israel, or Jerusalem, is to get the temple rebuilt. Its days of being cursed are over. That is the declaration of the God of Israel. The ancient aliens remind us that the family of Abraham was chosen to carry the message of the Great to the world, but they rejected the voice of God and were punished by the events of our world's history. However, as the children of Abraham, their lives would be spared. The accuracy of the prophecy of the future history of Israel was amazingly clear. The ancient Grey knew what would happen to the Jewish people. The Watchers were always there to influence events, ensuring that their plan would be carried out. Their plan is to replace Israel with Zion. The Israelites had to be replaced because they rejected the voice of God. The Grey are a telepathic race. So the only way that we can hear them is in our minds. God is the voice that the Jews rejected. So the Grey must replace them. That is the plan. When Israel demanded a human king rather than a God as king, they rejected the voice. The priests were meant to be the authority. The God would rule. The king would be the voice of the people, a part of the government body. But Israel refused, wanting to be like other nations, ruled solely by human men. Therefore, Israel was allowed to be like other nations, but they would pay a very heavy price. All of the curses of the laws of Moses would be enacted. The people of Israel would suffer throughout history as an example to Zion of what they would suffer for rejecting God in turn. The history has proven the high price of being um, like other nations. Zion, the people who will replace Israel, will be blind to their own identity, but they will have the voice of God. They will hear the voice, and they will love it. They won't know it, but that which they love most will be their connection to the Grey, because they will also be telepathic. but they just won't know it. The people of Zion are a proud people. They reject the religions of Abraham's descendants, rejecting Israel. They too are punished for their outward rejection of the God of Israel. Their great connection, the source of their innate sense of pride. The ancient Gray instruct us to gather the people of Zion together, for he has declared their identity and will justify all of their doings. He will defend them against the idol worshippers who rule over them. God instructs his people to assemble to hear his testimony. God declares himself a just God. He has openly, from ancient times, declared the identity of his people Zion. The Gray alone are the true God. There is no other. Everyone must accept this truth or suffer the consequences. All who oppose him, who is God, will come to ruin. Then it says that all the seed of Israel will be justified. This is the next element of the controversy of Zion, the seed of Israel. That is the glory of the people created by the Gray. This seed is the key to the identity of the people to be known as Zion. This seed creates a new Jew from anyone on earth. Those who bear the seed of Israel are given the gift of telepathy. They are the future priests of the Gray. God declares that the telepathic Zionite people are descended from Abraham and from Sarah. Their parent religions have been based on the Torah. This adoption of Zion into Israel keeps the promise made to Abraham that his children would be priests to the Gray forever. The Gray intend to keep their promise to Abraham. His children, Zion, will be the priests at the temple. They will be the voice of the Gray on earth. The temple will be rebuilt in Jerusalem, the descendants of Jacob safe and at home in Israel. The Gray honor their promise to Abraham, foretelling the future of both Zion and Israel. It is declared that the captivity of Israel will return. Nazi. That's all I have to say. But there is also the captivity of Zion. The people of Zion are created by the oppression of the seed, making criminals of innocent people who use the seed for their own pleasure. The people of Zion mirror Israel. They also anger the Gray and are held captive by the governments that rule over them. But Israel in World War II, both Israel in World War II and the current Zionite prohibition are the captivities declared long ago. But this time, God, the Gray, will have mercy on both houses of Israel. They will justify them both and return to them, giving them both their promised homeland, ensuring their perpetual connection. The Gray lay claim to both Zion and Israel. God declares next that when the identity of the children of Zion becomes known, the Israelites will be amazed and will sanctify the Gray. They will see the error of their ways and embrace their new family members. The new nation will be created. This new nation of Zion will be created as a priesthood, a human nation, where work who work with the aliens telepathically. This nation will bridge the communication gap between the Greys and the humans. The chapter closes with the promise to end the curse placed upon Jerusalem. Israel is to know peace. The temple will be rebuilt, and the Grey will return to redeem them. The chapters, the, the fifth chapter of the book of Zion is entitled Who Hath Declared This? And it starts with Isaiah 42:19 to 21, which becomes Zion 5:1-3. Who is blind but my servant, as my messenger that I sent? Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant? Now, Isaiah opens this chapter. It declares that the blind servant of God, saying that this blind servant is perfect. This is the Lord's servant. He sees many things, but he doesn't pay attention to it. This refers to the Messiah, the chosen one. This servant, unlike the blind and deaf of the Christian faith, can hear God. His ears are open. He is telepathic, but he doesn't understand what he's hearing. It's because he's not paying attention. He just doesn't know that he is God's servant. So he rejects God and ignores the Torah and gives him his identity. He doesn't know that he's hearing God's voice, in other words. This pleases God. It's part of his plan. He plans to examine the law and to make it honorable. He plans to change the law. It pleases God. His plans are coming along just fine. Zechariah 2:10 to 10 and 11 becomes Zion 5:4-5. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of the Lord of hosts. The Lord will be terrible unto them, for he will famish all the gods of the earth, and men shall worship him, every one from his place, even all the isles of the heathen. Zephaniah tells us the next part of the plan. This blind servant is blind because of pride. They believe themselves to be better than Israel, the people of the Lord of hosts. So, God punishes them so that the entire human race will see the power of the Grey. When Zion is created, all will realize the scope of the Grey's ability, and all will turn to them. And I am going to go ahead and stop there because I don't want to get into too much this time. And I don't want to run out of time. So, I'm going to stop here today, and we will, I don't know where we stopped. Yeah, Isaiah, we'll stop right here at the top of the page. And we will take up next time where we left off and see what God has to say about his blind servants. And until then, may the Grey watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. May they teach you right from wrong. May you be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light, the unicorn way. Find your joy and pursue it. That'll make you happier. Know that I love you. I'll say later now, because you know me. I'll never say goodbye.